encuesta es al final de la primera, ¿sí? Adelante, adelante.
Un comentario, nomás díganle a la muchachita que no ande así con la bicicleta, porque la gente que está de aquel lado voltea,
Sí,
les quita
sí,
la atención.
ya se lo dije, pero no entiendes. Usted, ayúdame. Por favor, pon las sillas en su lugar y siéntate en un solo lugar porque estás distrayendo a las personas que están allá. Ya
Por
te lo
favor,
dije.
mija, sí,
Te lo está pidiendo el señor
por
que se
favor.
ocupa de la vigilancia.
Sí.
Manches.
No es que está apagado, la cabina está si no, la opción es un micro.
Ponle
Sí,
micro,
es
sí.
un-
No, no.
Buenos días. Bienvenidos nuevamente a nuestro segundo y último día de actividades. Sí, se hizo muy corto, ¿verdad? Hemos estado muy contentos de ver pues a las caras que ya conocemos, caras que no habíamos tenido el gusto de conocer, gente que integra a nuestro departamento en otras localidades, pero también invitados externos que han tenido la oportunidad de compartir con nosotros estos eventos. Espero que hayan sido de su agrado. Hoy tenemos todavía varias actividades. Les voy a platicar un poquito de los pendientes que tenemos todavía. Al finalizar la plenaria, les pedimos que permanezcan en sus lugares un momentito, porque vamos a pedirles que contesten una muy pequeñita encuesta sobre las actividades que han presenciado. También, pues ayer olvidamos entregar los diplomas a los ponentes y tendremos los diplomas de los asistentes también ya listos para que no se vayan a ir sin acercarse a la mesa de registro y recoger sus diplomas. También, si alguien tiene el deseo de tener alguna presentación, ya ven que la doctora dejó su presentación aquí. El correo el que hay que contactarse es eltseminar2018@gmail.com. Si arriba también. Si me mandan un correo, si nos mandan un correo ahí, les hacemos llegar la presentación. De igual manera, si tienen más inquietudes, dudas, el departamento de inglés siempre estará a sus órdenes. El teléfono para quienes están en Saltillo es 438-1550 si tienen cualquier preocupación referente al seminario u otra. Y bueno, sin más, vamos a darles la bienvenida al equipo de esta mañana. Los dejo en manos de la maestra Carmen.
Good morning, teachers. Welcome to our second day of activities in our ELT seminar. This morning is very special because we have a great speaker. Okay, his name is Martín Juárez. He has been an English teacher for over 25 years. He holds a PDG in ELT by the University of Southampton. He is a certified speaking examiner and is the owner and founder of the Fast Learning Institute. Martin has designed the Make and Do method to learn English faster and better. He is known for his dynamic teaching style and humorous approach to teaching. Okay, so please welcome Martin.
Thank you very much. This room is larger than the other one, so I am a bit nervous, but let's control, right? Okay. When I think I was 10 years old, I was at school, and I had my Spanish teacher, and my Spanish teacher was an old woman, but she was very good. She was an extraordinary teacher, but she had this very rude, behavior with her students. And she had us stand up, and she said, "Tienen que repetir las preposiciones," okay? And everyone was like, "Yeah, ahora ya me la sé, pues, ¿no?" But at that moment, I was here, just in front of the teacher, and she was walking around, okay? And then she approached me, and I was like, like saying other words or sounds, making sounds, but not actually saying the prepositions. Okay, she approached to me, and then she said, okay, so I felt very bad, okay, because at that moment, she didn't respect me, okay, as a person. I was a very young little boy, 10 years old, okay, but at the same time, I felt like, okay, I will learn it, I will learn the prepositions and I will say the prepositions. Next class, okay, the teacher was here at her desk, and as a teacher, ya me las sé. Ya te sabes que las preposiciones, a verlas. Ante, bajo, cabe, con, contra, de, desde, en, entre, hasta, escapar, por, según, si, so, sobre, tras. Very good. Y hasta el momento no se me ha olvidado. After that, okay, after that, her attitude changed very much. I learned very much from that teacher because, yes, he wanted to get the best out of us, but at the same time, he needed to respect the personality of each student. I have been always an observer. I was observing yesterday Pat, I was observing Said yesterday, and I was observing the other teachers who were here in front. I have been observing you, okay, for for these days, okay, and you are great people, okay, but this is, I don't know if it is a good quality or bad behavior, but I am a keen observer of people. And whenever I am in front of my students, I always observe how they behave in the classroom. And sometimes I go beyond. Why? Because sometimes I ask my students, like, okay, where do you come from? Vengo de Luchana, for example, ¿verdad? O Lequeitio. Son lugares en Torreón, bueno, cercanos a Torreón. ¿Verdad? So how long is it? Okay, how much time do you make, to commute from your house to school? Say, about 35 minutes more or less. My class starts at 7 o'clock. So that means that he has to wake up very early. He has to wait the bus. He has to wait for the bus, and then he has to arrive to class. They are always early. And I have always, tell myself, Martin, start the class 7 o'clock. Why? Because they are there. Sometimes I do it, right? Sometimes I have to be honest, okay? I don't start my class at 7 because I have to wait for the other classrooms. But I consider in many cases what happens with my students, because if I, as a teacher, consider how they feel, how they are, what they are going through in their lives, although I don't speak too much with them about their problems, but those are very important factors to consider how I am going to prepare my lessons and how I am going to present the lessons, how I am going to help them learn English. One of the factors that has been a subject of study for me is the use of L1. And as a matter of fact, this is the presentation for today. Using L1 in the classroom, the attitudes and benefits. Using L1 is like it's using Spanish in our classes, right? But I have been studying using Chinese in Chinese classrooms, using Hindi in Indian classrooms, using, L1, right? Whatever the language is, using L1. And believe it or not, it is great. So much has been written about using L1 in the classroom. And it is amazing how much not American people, not English people, not Australian people have been writing about this issue. Okay, people from Chile, people from Argentina, people from China, okay, have been very much interested in discovering how using L1 is helping students actually to learn English or to learn a second, third, or more languages. Okay, today we are going to consider two aspects. Number one, attitudes. Students' attitudes and teachers' attitudes. And then we are going to focus on the benefits. How many benefits do we find in allowing students to speak Spanish in the class? All right, I know some of you, okay, have your attitudes and have your beliefs, which are different, all right? Sometimes we believe it is good, but our attitude shows something completely different. Sometimes we don't know exactly what is happening in our classroom because we see other teachers, or maybe we were raised or we were trained by people who hates using L1 in the classroom, and therefore we have, gotten married with the idea that we should not allow using Spanish in the classroom. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some time. Okay, so with your pair, with somebody next to you, okay, talk about this question. What is your attitude? Not your beliefs, not what you know, if it is good or bad. What is your attitude, okay, towards using L1 in the classroom. Okay, but before you start, do I make myself clear with the question, what's your attitude, instead of what you believe it is, if it is, whether it is correct or incorrect? Okay. Would you please discuss 1 minute, what's your attitude in the classroom towards using L1 in the classroom, please? 1 minute. All right. The other day, my cell phone ran out of battery, and I asked a friend, to lend me his no, his phone. Yeah, okay, actually his smartphone. I said, can I call my wife? I said, sure. And I was, calling my wife, and he was like, he was angry. I mean, his attitude, okay, forced me to say, thank you. Forget about it. He allowed me to use his phone number, his phone, but his attitude was totally different. So the question is, what is your attitude towards using L1 in the classroom? Yeah. That's a question. Sorry, I had to say that's a question, right? Lupita, Guadalupe.
Just told me that the use of Spanish in the classroom is a tool, and you need to use your tools to teach. And I think that this is important, no?
Over there. Thank you, Lupita.
Good morning, everyone. My attitude, first of all, especially if I'm working with students of the level 1 or level 2, I'm very patient. And I always try to keep a positive, patient attitude and just pretend that we have all the time in the world. Just to give them time to, yes, pretend that I have the time. Yeah. And I go, or maybe I can give them a hint of something. And basically, patience, humor. Okay. If I can, I'm trying to translate their words like, okay. And maybe they're using another word that sounds similar to. So, patience and humor, um, in addition to positive, but I'm very demanding, and I'm giving level 5 for that matter. But, if I have to work with level 1 or level 2, patience.
So that's a good attitude. You see? Probably, I don't know, we will ask the question, probably she doesn't like or she doesn't want, right, her students to speak Spanish in the class, but her attitude is helping them to use the language, right? We will focus on that in a moment. What is your attitude? Does anybody have another comment? Yes, Flavia?
Well, although I don't like to use Spanish in my classes, I know that first and second levels are difficult. Uh, but it is not that I don't like me using Spanish. It's that if I give my students a small slight, uh, not bit of a chance, if I let them know that I'm eager or willing to use Spanish with them, they won't make the effort to use English. So that is a problem for me. So what I do is, okay, you're speaking Spanish, but I'm answering in English in a slow pace so they can understand, but I'm trying not to use Spanish in my
Which is a
classes.
different attitude, right? Okay, I allow you, but I don't speak Spanish. Okay, and sometimes your face will reflect that. Okay, even if you don't want, whatever you feel inside will be reflected. How you look at your student, your face will change in a way, and they know, they're like, all right, okay, I know. You see? So sometimes this is very important to consider because we try or we want to help our students to succeed in the English language, right? We want them to communicate. We want them to use the language. We want them to complete the activities, okay? But if our attitude towards Spanish is a negative one, okay, or it is not as close as your attitude, but close, like something like that, okay? But it will help the students to, have a more positive attitude towards the class and towards you. Sure, absolutely. Okay. The affective filter, like goes down. Very good. Okay, the benefits. Now let's talk about the benefits of using Spanish in the class. Okay. How about if I give you 1 minute again? Okay. And the question is, talk about one benefit of using Spanish in the class. Only one, okay? One benefit of using Spanish in the class. So we can have many benefits, okay, after the 1 minute, please. How about you?
I will say clarification. Make sure they don't have any doubt about what you're teaching or you're explaining. The listening is so yeah, you're trying to explain something to them, like they don't understand that maybe going to level one would be a good benefit in this case. But also, I would say another
Okay, time's up. Tell us about one benefit, one single benefit, okay, of using Spanish in the class. Anybody? Yes, back there, please.
I believe it helps to build rapport. The relationship between teacher and student, it's benefited through the use of L1, obviously with its limits, but that's my point of view.
Exactly. Okay, very good. Over here, please.
Well,
we were talking and we agreed that maybe the best benefit that we can obtain to use the L1, it could be the confidence, yeah. And in my personal opinion, is the connections that my students can do with the L1 because they really reflect what are they expressing in all and accuracy. I mean, the grammatical structure that we are applying.
Another benefit that we were discussing, it is about clarification. Make sure that the student understands what you're trying to elicit from them, or explaining or teaching, however you want to call it. So it will also make you save time when you're trying to get the student to understand something. So in this case, going to L1, it will save you a lot of time and make sure that the student understands the point. Yeah, I took it from her.
Okay, I think it can the benefit of using L1 is that you can gradually like talk more Spanish and then gradually talk less and then get to the point that you just talk in English all the time.
Right. Very good. Last one. Yes.
I think one of the benefits is for weak students mostly, because they may feel insecure to ask the teacher something. They feel insecure, and it is more comfortable for them to talk to a partner in their language.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, the last one, all right?
The last one, yeah. I promise. Well, I think that this is to increase the interest in class. If a student is interested in what is he is learning and he understands, he is going to be interested, of course. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Now let's see the next slide, the next picture, please, Jose. Don't speak Spanish. Sometimes we say that, right? Even if it is Profesor Girafales or El Santo y Blue Demon contra las momias or Alice in Chains, but we say, don't speak Spanish, right? Sometimes this is the attitude we have. I know all of us know the benefits of using L1 in the classroom, and we acknowledge probably the courses we have taken, teachers we have had, and we are professionals, and we know that Spanish is good. It's a great tool, that something you were mentioning just a moment ago. However, once we are in the classroom, it seems that not you, all the teachers in other part, okay? They forget about what they have learned in the books. They forget about what they have been taught on ICE or Delta or whatever courses you have taken. They forget that using Spanish is a great tool. Okay, our knowledge as professionals is different from that. Okay, for example, from some students who they learned English and now they are teaching English. Why? Because they know English well. And they say, I want to be a teacher. And they stand in front of the classroom and say, "Estos son tus libros, vas a dar el presente simple, está bien fácil, dalo tú." Okay. And they start teaching. They don't know. They don't know anything about, language acquisition, but we know that. We have read about, we have read journals, books, and authors and stuff like that. So we should never forget that we are professional. Being professional doesn't mean that you're wearing a suit and a tie. That doesn't make you professional. What makes you professional is that what you have read is here, and now you know how to. Yes, absolutely. You know how to apply it, right? So that's why whenever I am observing some teachers, for example, not at UAC, I haven't had the opportunity to observe some teachers at UAC, but I have the opportunity to observe some teachers at Ibero, UVM, for example, Tec de Monterrey, etc. Okay, and they say, do you allow Spanish? No, never. This is English, and English should be spoken. All right. So where is that literature? You see, that they have read about Where is that knowledge that you are sharing right now? Right? You see, one thing is the attitude, and another different thing is what you are doing, right, in the classroom. It's like the telephone. He was my friend, okay? He shouldn't have, frowned his face, right? Why? Because he was my friend. But his attitude shows something completely different, which made me say, "Atén ya, te voy a-" Feo. That's it. Your favorite. Okay, next, please. Okay, attitude towards using L1. Look at the face of this guy here, okay? Yeah, look at the face of the teacher, okay? His brother said, "Teacher, there son ellos, there son de ellos." Y luego el teacher dice esto: "Don't speak Spanish in the class." Y luego, peor tantito, porque se acerca al niño o al adolescente y le dice, "Think in English." My God, what is that? I don't know if you have read about, okay, but there's not that much, but there are some great journals, okay, which, okay, talk about think in English. It's like when you say think in English, which I say, if the teacher could, he would do it. If the teacher knew what he's saying, he would train his students to think in English. But he doesn't even know how to think in English. So look at the face of the student, okay? Okay, this is a little boy. It was like little Martin, for example, when the teacher was there, las preposiciones, okay? And they was like, if my attitude had been different, I would have said something like, "No, ¿para qué me las aprendo? Ni las voy a usar," ¿verdad? Right? Okay, but probably many of our students are there because they really want to learn English. And even if they don't want to learn English, we are there because we get paid. And we are professionals. If it is little money, we accepted that little money, and that's why we're there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. If it is much money, good for you. That's great for you.
I totally agree with that, but there is a difference, or there is a bridge in which I commonly, I wouldn't say that commonly, but I use that expression, try to think in English if I'm working with level 4 or level 5, because at the end we have a test that it's time limited. You have the answers, you have 30 seconds to answer, or reading comprehension goes real fast. And if they're trying to translate everything into Spanish so they can make up their minds and then answer in English, that would take up most of the time to answer. So with level 5 students, I'm a little bit more like the other picture. Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, but we have trained, absolutely. And then we are ready. Okay, yeah. Sure, sure. And we, absolutely, and we will cover those aspects, yeah, later in the workshop. Okay, but anyway, uh, see your students' faces. Okay, sometimes it has been said that teachers should not ask, "¿Sí entendieron? Do you understand?" Why? Because it's clear. We know, okay? We know they are getting the point, they are not getting the point, right? Okay, next, please. What is your attitude towards using L1 in your teaching practice? Do you accept the use of L1 during your teacher practice? Yes or no? Okay, anybody says no? Batres is not here. Batres is not here. Okay. Very good. Yeah. So everybody says yes. All right. Very good. Okay. Do you use L1 to give feedback? Show me your hands. Who said yes? Okay. Would you please stand up if you say no? Said, no, teacher, I don't give feedback in Spanish. Would you stand up, please? Ay, primero no alzan la mano. Primero no alzan la mano y luego no se quieren parar, ¿verdad? Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Don't worry. It depends on feedback, right? And we know it depends on many factors. Now, is translation a common practice in your sessions? Yes? Okay. Who says yes? Ma'am? Yes? Everybody up.
I will agree to use translation mostly when it's more culture or like some kind of slangs or things that is not like clear or has like for example like phrases like we joke a little bit with phrases like for example we say in Spanish throw it to a lion. So that doesn't have a translation. So you have to like to allow them to understand that there's several phrases in English that doesn't really means what is meant. And so that's where translation can be helpful.
Very specific examples, right? Yeah, very good. Number 4, do you prefer using L1 with beginners or advanced students and why? I'm going to give you another minute so you can talk about if you, prefer using L1 with beginners or advanced students. Okay, 1 minute? All right. Ready? Oh, great. Yeah. We have a microphone at the back. We have a microphone over there at the back. So if somebody at the back wants to say something, it's cool. Okay. And then I have the microphone for this. Okay. For people who are here at the front. With beginners or with advanced students and why? Yes, please.
I was discussing here with Miriam, and I was telling her that it depends. For example, I work for a software company, and I have really advanced students. I have to teach them advanced structures, and I have to teach them inversion and third conditional and things like that, because they have to speak formally and write formally. And they work in projects where they use English all the time. And so I sometimes use Spanish with them in order to make myself very clear. But I also use it with beginners. As we were discussing before, we want to make them feel confident, and it's a process. So you start using Spanish, like Andrea said before, maybe a lot at the beginning, and then you start using it less and less.
Less and less and less. Very good. Anybody else?
It is almost about the same. We're saying that in my case, for example, I think that when I'm teaching first levels, we're teaching the basic things. In that case, I do not usually use Spanish. but it's easier if I need to explain something more difficult to an advanced student. Um, I wouldn't use the word prefer, uh, because he says over there, but
Yeah,
that I think it is up to you if you use Spanish in any of those. But I think that at beginner's level, I don't use it. I think we don't need it because
Okay.
we're teaching the ABC.
All right.
That's what I think.
Very good. Yes. What's your name?
In advanced students, my preference would go into idiomatic licenses or idioms, phrasal verbs, things that will need no or have no literal translation, but more an equivalent into our language, so they become familiar and know how to use them. So that would be my need more than the preference to use L1 with advanced students.
Now, the next question is, what you have said and what you have talked about with your peers, it is merely because of your experience or because you have read about it and I know you are professional, but some other maybe more, or just about the same, more professional people have written about that, and on which approach or methodology, or where does that fit? Where do you get those ideas? Just because of experience? Uh-huh.
That for some reason are more advanced. Like last semester, I work in nursing, and the January semester are the rejects from medicine. They wanted to study medicine, so they are very high in their English skills. But for example, this semester are the ones that wanted to study nursing, and their level of English is really low. So it is also up to the group. So I have to move back and forth to Spanish or not. Last semester, she's now working with my first semester, and she speaks almost no Spanish because the students are excellent. But my level one students right now, they require Spanish because some of them came to the class with zero. So I do have to use L1. Mhm.
Now, next, please. Now the question will focus on students. What are your students' attitude towards using L1 during your teaching practice? What is their attitude? Any answer? Yeah, pretty much. They like it. Yes, Griselda. On experience.
Elementary group, and they prefer using English.
Yeah.
They say English teacher, English, and they
Uh-huh.
use English,
Yes,
and
yeah,
they
that's true.
use English
Teacher,
in the
English
class.
teacher.
And and I have an advanced group, and they insist they use Spanish, even though they know how to use it, how to use English, but I have to force them in using English. So that's why I say it depends on the group you have. Mhm.
Any other question? Any other answer? And that is true. Some students like to use Spanish, right? Oh, well, Jose. Okay, where? Aquí.
A problem might be that they can overuse language one. It will be a problem, but we have to balance that. But that's right. Oh, the problem is that they can overuse it.
I think when we are asking these questions about the use of L1, it's also important to think if our attitude is more positive towards us using L1 or our students using L1. Because, for example, we were discussing that with beginners, it's okay for me that, I mean, I understand that they need to use the language because they probably don't feel confident yet or they don't have enough vocabulary or whatever. But because I'm the main exposer to the language, I prefer to only use L1. As with the more advanced students, I, like they mentioned before, I know that there are certain structures that are too complicated and that they need to make sense in Spanish. So I don't feel too bad of translating in some specific circumstances. But it depends on whether they use it or I use it. I think that would be an important difference to make there.
And that's why we separate, right? What's your attitude? And now we're focusing on what's the student's attitude. Flavia mentioned that, right? He said, I don't speak Spanish, okay? But if they, okay, little by little, they will be speaking English, right? But my attitude is this, right? Yes, teacher.
And so it's just school. They have other things to do. They have homework. They are students. They are probably not completely aware that they're going to need English in the future, and that English is necessary to get a good job on those things. But for example, in the company where I'm working, we have specific classes for conversation, and they are completely aware that they need to use English only because it's necessary for themselves to become better professionals inside of the company, to get better salaries, to go to different projects and get better positions and those things. So I think it depends on the kind of class also.
So it means your attitude will be flexible, right? It depending on the classes you're teaching. Very good. Okay, so let's see what the research is telling us right now. Okay, now before we see the next image, think about this. I asked the question if what you're saying is because of your experience or the reading. Is that really important? Some of you might say like, it's working for me, it's all right. All right, I have my students, I am having good results, etc., etc. The other day, I tried to, I wanted to change. I want to, the cylinder of the gas, okay? And my wife said, usa esta, ¿verdad? No encontré la otra. And I was, having a great time, a very hard time, okay? And I cut my hand and I suffered very much. But I did it, okay? And we had a great food that day. But what happened? I got the result. I tried something different. I got the result, but exactly. At the next time, I will not do it. Okay, my hand suffered. Okay, my wife was happy. All right, but my hand suffered. Right. So what I want to say with this is that sometimes, believe it or not, it's like yesterday Pat was trying. No, she was not trying. She actually mentioned that. Okay, she said that sometimes we know, but we don't use it. And sometimes we come to Congress and we go to Congress and said, sí, voy a hacer eso. But you knew it already, right? But sometimes we continue with our practice and we say, I have been doing that. It is working for me. It's my experience, and I know that, okay? But be careful. Sometimes we might be losing our identity as professionals. What is a professional? You are doing something with the right tool in the right way, expecting the correct results, right? That's how we are going to use Spanish as a tool. Not because we want to use Spanish or they want to use Spanish or translation or whatever, but as a tool now. Okay, so the perception of using Spanish right now, from now on, changes to, at least in the presentation, okay, to use Spanish as a tool, all right? So let's see what professionals have mentioned. According to Atkinson, okay, 2016 states that the most influential factor is the truism that you can only learn English by speaking English. We are against that. Okay, who said that? Yes, he said that. Okay, but who said that English is what? Is only learned by speaking English? He's referring to that. Okay. We don't know. That's why we say it has been said that. All right. Yes.
As far as I remember, it comes from India, right? When it was a colony from the British Empire, they forbid the use of the native language. And that custom has remained within our classrooms to this very day. Now, to me, the biggest question is how to use and not abuse the use of L1. I mean, it's like the pylorus. you need to learn when to close it, so your stomach doesn't get full.
Okay, open and close, right? Yeah, and that is true. It all started in India. Okay, it all started in India. But what happened to India right now? What is happening to India right now when they use English? What have you ever seen a movie? You know, like for example, My Name is Hank. I Am Not a Terrorist. Who have seen that movie? Okay, it is great. Okay, you should. Sometimes you're saying like, I am understanding everything, and then boom, a word in Hindi, or 2 words, and then a complete dialogue in Hindi. They switch, right? But they got rid of the idea of English is only learned by using English, right? And they have a very complex language now. Okay, so sometimes we have to go against that. Okay, preconceived ideas, right? They say, no, yo no. Why not? Porque yo no. Así soy. Ah, bueno, ya, está bien. No le vamos a insistir. Y es que tengo buenos resultados. Está bien. Úsalo, all right? O no lo uses. It's okay. It's up to you. This is only a presentation, right? You have your ideas, and some of your ideas are well rooted. You know, they are there. Some maybe they are they have been there for many years. Okay, but that's all right. But what's the point here? Atkinson, point number 2, as cited in Harvard 2016, states that it is a learner preferred strategy. Not because they like. Okay, if you ask a student, say, me gusta y lo hablo. But it is a strategy. Professionally speaking, or pedagogically speaking, they are using a strategy. And for them, it is working. Probably we want to go against that, okay? And we have to recognize how they are using that strategy as well. Point number 3, Atkinson also suggests the use of L1 because it is a humanistic approach. How do you like that? It is a humanistic approach. In that it permits them to say what they want. In theory, a humanistic teacher will probably be a pragmatist, allowing a combination of language learning theories. Check it out. Allowing a combination of language learning theories. I know what I'm doing in the classroom because I have read about it, okay, and I am following a method, I am following an approach, I know how they work, and I know the why. I know why I am doing this, right? Because we are professionals. And you're using a combination of language learning theories and their own experience. That's where we fit there, right? Our experience is good. Probably we have never, written about our experiences, and probably you have discovered something great, but it's there in your classroom. These guys wrote about it, and they got a lot of money. Probably you have never written about it, and you are doing great things in your classroom, and you said, for me, I don't know if it is professional or not, but for me it's working. Probably you have discovered something great. Pat yesterday, okay, she was telling us that we have to, go into the field of research, remember? Okay, so sometimes we have to think about it. Okay, probably we're doing some great things in the classroom and we don't know. We are, probably exposing our students to a very novel method or a great idea on how to learn something better. Okay, on their own experience to interact, to interact with each other to produce effective language lessons. All right, next, please. Spanish as a pedagogical tool. Now let's talk about as a tool. Now the question is now, how to use Spanish as a tool? That's the question, all right? How do you use Spanish as a tool? 1 minute? Please, talk about it. Ready? All right, this time I will allow myself to pass the microphone, okay, so I can get some more ideas, all right?
Hello. Um, Tere, my name is Tere. Um, I think you can use Spanish as, for example, for vocabulary. Maybe you can relate the word in English with some drawing, something like that, and they have the idea in Spanish. That could be one.
Yes, thank you.
I think some grammar points that are too complex, I think it's okay to make a grammar parenthesis to explain it to students so they can really comprehend all the elements necessary for that. If they want to if they want to convey an idea in a very difficult structure using a difficult structure.
Don't worry. Okay, Lorena, please say something to us, please.
Well, I was talking to Cesar, and we think also it's good to use Spanish sometimes because maybe you are just talking in English, students don't understand, and then you are spending too much time, and finally you ask students, did you understand? They are going to say yes because they don't want to say they don't understand if the teacher spent maybe 15 minutes talking about something, and then you spend time, and then they didn't understand, and then you continue with the class, and well, it was just a waste of time.
Very good. Yes, ahí voy para allá. Ya bajé el desayuno.
I always have to I always have to use Spanish to explain students this phrase. Teacher, why is it incorrect to say I have 20 years old? So I have 20 years old, and I have to tell them it's because if you translate and why do I have to say I am 20 years old? It's because it's because in Spanish it means, literally it means, yo soy como de tanta edad más vieja. So and then that's why it is, that's why we use the verb to be, because we refer something to el cero estás. It refers to you as a person with a state. So you are Brenda, you are 20 years. It comes from the verb cero estás. But it is difficult for them to make them understand why not to use have, and have is an action, is not the verb be. So we have to separate, we have to understand the difference between the verb to be. The verb to be is always related to a person a person state, and the rest of the verbs. The rest of the verbs are actions, and that's the difference. And we have to translate, yes, those phrases into Spanish.
¿Y la explicación, cómo la dice, la das en español? Estamos hablando de I am, ¿no? I am, yeah. Sí, porque el alumno entonces va a quedar así. Ya quedé peor, ¿verdad? Sí. Sí, porque estás hablando, I am 20 years old, okay. It should be. No sé, ¿verdad? Podría ser. You have your toolbox and your Spanish. Ay, thank you. Así la traigo, ¿verdad? Okay, good. Let's use it. She said it's faster. It is effective. It is good, right? Okay, some of you teach advanced classes, okay? So tell me how you use Spanish as a tool. Yes.
Well, I have a question. How many of you know what is musicals? What is musicals? Okay. So bear 1, 2, 3. Okay, so those who teach English level 3 would know, but we had to look into the dictionary. So for me, it's basically a mere tool as a dictionary, a translator dictionary that will provide and save a lot of time, back to saving time, because I know seafood and I like it very much and I eat it, but I don't know all the names of these little animals. And the same goes for the type of strange food or that I don't consume. So basically that's what it is.
With the specific words. Translation. Okay, translation. Advanced courses, yes. Over there.
I was telling Miriam that I used to teach students to take TOEFL. So it was more like English for specific purposes. And to take a TOEFL test and get a good grade or a good score, you have to know a lot of vocabulary. And some of the words that you have to know are actually quite complicated. And so I used to give my students lists of vocabulary. Okay, you have to look up these words using an English dictionary, but sometimes it was not enough. They had to use an English-Spanish dictionary to understand a concept or a word completely. So I guess in that case, I was using Spanish as a tool. But then when they had to tell me the concept, of course, they had to do it in English.
Very good. So she said explaining something, right? And use translation. Okay. No, I don't understand. But with the student, you were using translation. Cuando le dices, I am, yo soy, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Very good. Yeah, exactly. I'm just referring to the what you are doing, right? Translation, correct? Translation, correct? Okay. Any other way we can use this tool besides translation? Oh, advance, please. Anybody? Oh, yeah.
With homophones, we have fair, 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 fair. We have heal, heal, heal. We have play, 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 play. There's a lot of homophones. How do you explain the homophones? So you begin explaining in English, but then you add the words in Spanish.
All right.
Example, Saltillo's Fair.
Okay.
Saltillo's Fair, it could be just, puede ser justo, but we love to go to Saltillo's Fair. So then they get it. See, hill, hill, hill. So very different. Okay, hill, la colina. Hill, los dos talones. Hill, sanar. Entonces, how do you explain the homophones? Because they're clicking. They know that they have seen one homophone, they're seeing the second homophone, but why is
Okay.
the context different?
But you're using translation.
Yes,
Okay.
in some
so-
cases.
okay,
yes.
but again, that's translation, 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 translation. Any other? Yes, Claudia.
We were saying, for example, in grammar,
Okay.
after explaining MPF, and then we ask like the CCQ, when do we use the present simple? Can I say it in Spanish? And we're like, sure, because I want to know if you understood the meaning.
That's good. Okay, that's a variation, not translation. Any other? Yes, over there. We have translation, we have this method, all right? Let's see if we can find another one.
I don't know if translation would be the proper word. I would say more like understanding for a student to be able to express that he's getting the idea of what's going on.
Okay.
It builds confidence in them.
Okay, good.
And so that's an amazing tool to
Yeah.
use.
It's not
just to let them
translation.
know you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know,
translation.
That cheers them up.
Very good. It's not translation. You allow them, you use Spanish. Okay, like, okay, muchachos. Entonces, ¿qué estamos haciendo? Ya está, los tímidos. Teacher, estamos haciendo esto y esto y esto y esto y esto. Yes. Muy bien. But you allow the Spanish, not translation. It's another, that's another way, right? Griselda? Yes, please.
An important tool to avoid translation. For example, talking about homophones, if you see context, you could deduce the meaning without translating.
Correct.
That's what I think.
Exactly. So, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but we are sometimes putting Spanish in the box of translation. And okay, Spanish is a great tool, but we cannot only use Spanish to translate. Even though it is basic, what is this? Manzana, teacher, no traduzcas. Apple. All right. La palabra que nos dijiste, no nos dejes en duda.
¿Lo dijeron?
Mejillones. Mejillones en su tinta. All right. Advanced, simple, whatever, but it's translation, translating the word. TOEFL, translating the word.
I sometimes tell I joke in Spanish. For example, my classes are at 7:30 in the morning, so they are all very sleepy. And so I want to make them laugh or to feel more comfortable in the
Yeah,
classroom.
very
So I tell a joke in Spanish.
Yeah.
Hey, you, nombre compañera, tú, la moquitos or whatever. I don't know.
La
So
moquitos.
that kind of things. And so they start laughing and the class, and you create a more relaxing atmosphere
Yeah.
for them. And so learning for them becomes easier. So I guess Spanish is a tool to make your students feel relaxed.
Yesterday, Pat was speaking in German, right? She was using another language. Okay. And we were like, wow. Y luego andaba por acá y hablaba español. Yes. Why we are using languages? That's one way we can use the tool, right? And it is great. You see, we're not finding, but we are realizing that we're, like opening the mind and say, sí. Oye, también así, ¿verdad? Yes. All right, please.
It's really similar. Okay, instead to use the homophones, maybe the cognates. They feel really happy when I can say that because it's the same. I mean,
Right.
¿Quieres que colore? Yes, we are going to color because this is a similar pronunciation. So they feel so sure when they are
Exactly.
acquiring.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next, please. We have a video, okay, and we are going to watch this guy telling us something very important. You can find it on YouTube. When should L1 be used in class? It's only 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, let's listen to it. You need a microphone?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nigel Kaplan from the University of Delaware, and I'm a co-author of Q Skills for Success, Reading, Writing, Book 5, where we received a question from Raif Sov Assad via Facebook, and here is Raif's question. When should the first language, the L1, be used in the classroom? Well, my answer to this is it should be used carefully. A lot of people will tell you that you should never use students' first language in the classroom, and they make a lot of really good points. We don't want students to become dependent on the first language. We want them to become comfortable using English. And we don't want to teach them that speaking a second language always means translation, because they can get into a lot of trouble that way. We also really need to maximize students' exposure to English, especially if they're in contexts where they don't hear English outside the classroom. So for all those reasons, we want to make sure that they spend most of their lesson speaking, listening, reading, and writing in English. However, there are times when students' first language can be very useful. For instance, switching into the first language can save you time when you're setting up an activity, going over the directions, giving homework, or maintaining discipline. And of course, we want to be efficient in the classroom. At the same time, sometimes using that first language allows you to give more sophisticated explanations of grammar and language use than would be possible in English, especially with lower level classes. And of course, it can lower students' anxiety. If they're worried that they can't understand your instructions in English, they may not be concentrating on the language they really need to learn. Overall, then, I'd say that the first language can be used as a resource, providing, of course, all your students do speak the same language and you can speak it too. So you can use the first language in order to support second language learning. But what we really want to aim towards is what Merrill Swain has called languaging, using the language to talk about the language, to learn the language. And maybe you can take advantage of the L1 in order to scaffold students towards that goal. Well, good luck, Raif, and everyone with your teaching. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Something interesting, right? Something interesting. Next, please, Jose. Okay. So we can use probably, if you want to, from now on, okay, from this image on, I'm going to refer to what sometimes I do in my classes. Okay, as you have just heard in the presentation, I am the owner of an institute in Torreon. The name is Fast Learning, and I also developed, not in, I wouldn't say created. This is very relative when we are, speaking about English. I didn't invent, I didn't create. I just developed, okay, a method that is the make and do method. All right, so students can learn faster and easier. According to what? According to whom? According to what I see, according to my experience, according to my context, okay? Very good. This is something that I do. Explain the present perfect, okay, in Spanish, explain the passive voice, explain the causative form, past perfect, before, during, after, reading, listening activities, before, during, after, speaking and reading activities. Okay, let's see an example. Please, Jose, next one. Okay, Spanish as a tool in speaking. The translator, everybody was speaking about translating, okay? Allowing L1 to fill the gap. Writing, okay? With closed caption subtitles in Spanish or essays in Spanish. Okay, for example, before allowing my students to write in English, I sometimes ask them to write in Spanish. Why? I consider Spanish is my enemy number one. But the language is a great tool. You know why? Okay, because if I refer to my context, students at UAC, in Torreon, in FECA, I know all schools are different. But if I refer to my context, some of my students don't really know how to write. They don't know how to express ideas because they are never or very little, okay, they are exposed to good Spanish. Why? Because they talk to their peers, same age, same way of thinking. They don't read. I'm generalizing, all right? They don't read, they don't write, okay? Facebook all day, Twitter, and so on, right? I mean, the tool is there. They can get great texts, but they prefer, just watching images. So my students are not exposed to good Spanish. So before attempting to write in English, I want to make sure if they know how to do it in Spanish. Why? Otherwise, they will have a hard time writing or speaking in English. I would begin sometimes my classes like, okay, hoy vamos a ver la voz pasiva. Ustedes saben que la voz pasiva, así que a partir de ahora ya no vuelvo a repetir el término voz pasiva. Y se eliminan la terminología, sujeto, objeto, by, etcétera, etcétera. Y los expongo, ok. Y preparo una clase en español. Toda la clase es en español. De cómo en español tenemos la voz pasiva. Porque después viene, por ejemplo, teacher, ¿cómo se dice? Me preguntaron. They asked me. Dice un alumno, ¿no? El que dice, yo sí sé, teacher. They asked me. No, pero es que dice, me preguntaron y no sabemos quién es they, entonces tenemos que usar voz pasiva y todo eso lo pienso yo, ¿verdad? Pero ¿cómo le voy a decir al muchacho? Es de, oh, this is passive voice, we don't know the subject and we have to use the passive voice because... Estoy perdiendo tiempo, no lo va a entender y lo que es peor, no lo va a interiorizar. Por eso la voz pasiva se ve en un nivel, el otro libro lo repite y cuando tomamos TOEFL otra vez vuelvo a ver pasiva porque sí me la sé. Ay, otra vez voz pasiva, teacher. Pero es que no te la sabes. Sí me la sé, mire, así, así, así. Ok, ¿y por qué no la usas? Estaba dando en International House el nivel C1 y les digo, muchachos, aquí para aprender se necesita una cosa. Humildad. Si no la tienes, no vas a aprender. Porque como crees tú que ya sabes, entonces ya terminamos mal. Empezamos y terminamos mal. Y les puse después, durante 2 días, muchas actividades. Y estuvieron hablando español, y estuvieron hablando inglés y todo eso. Después yo mismo le corté al español y empezamos a hablar inglés y todo bien. Y me di cuenta y les di un feedback, un reporte. Y les dije, mira, tú estás utilizando estas estructuras en español nada más. Nunca te escuché un conector en español. 2 horas hablando. Hablamos de cine, hablamos de su familia, hablamos de los problemas, no usó un conector. Pero si le digo en inglés, a ver, ¿usa conectores? ¿Qué va a hacer? Como que su mente, ahora sí, me pide conectores, empiezo a usar conectores. ¿Usa voz pasiva? Empiezo voz pasiva. Pero hay algo que no hace el alumno. Por lo general. Cuando le dice, escribe un texto, dice, ¿qué quiere que use? Quiero que hagas algo bueno. Sí, pero ¿quiere que use voz pasiva? O usted dígame qué uso y yo lo uso. Por eso los alumnos toman cursos para presentar el IELTS. Por eso toman cursos para presentar el TOEFL. ¿Por qué? Porque es muy específico lo que les piden ahí. Y ellos, aunque ya tomaron muchos cursos, todavía no están entrenados para eso. Todavía se les tiene que decir, úsalo. Hey, aquí no pusiste passive voice, nada más tienes un ejemplo. Ah, sí, no, ya lo voy a usar más adelante. Sí me explico a dónde quiero llegar. A que el alumno no ha interiorizado. ¿Por qué no usa la S? Se ha escrito mucho, hay muchos journals en cuanto a la S del presente simple, ¿verdad? En China, por ejemplo, dijeron, olvídate de la S, no la enseñes. En una provincia de China dijeron, ya no, todo es do. Y es she play. Pero es plays. She play. ¿Verdad? ¿Qué hicieron ellos? ¿Acabaron con el problema? Pero nadie le puede decir a Michael Jackson cuando dice, ¿verdad? Ok, does she play o does she want en sus canciones. Lo usa. Y nosotros decimos, es que en canciones se puede usar, hay unos poemas que sí. Entonces, ok, sí, no, ¿cuándo? Ok, sí me explico lo que quiero decir. Es decir, ¿verdad? Que no logran interiorizarlo. Right? And that is the problem. Sometimes we can use Spanish. That's what I in my case, first I speak, I prepare the class in Spanish. Voz pasiva, le pongo, el título es voz pasiva, lo borro. Ahora sí. Y preparo el material para que hablen voz pasiva. Recortes de periódico, ahí los vieron, todo eso. ¿Ya se fijaron esas expresiones? Sí. Y empezamos a hablar y digo, no dijo nada en voz pasiva. Este tampoco. No lo tienen, en español no está. Entonces, en inglés, ¿qué va a pasar? Si me pides que lo haga, te lo escribo. ¿Quieres 15 ejemplos? Te los hago, llámese la estructura. No quiero eso. Quiero que se meta adentro, ¿verdad? Que se interiorice. ¿Cómo lo voy a hacer? Español es una gran herramienta. ¿Por qué no lo intentan una vez? Podría ser voz pasiva, present perfect. El presente perfecto es excelente, es lo que marca la diferencia. Voz pasiva, conectores, presente perfecto B1, B2, entre otras cosas. Pero esos elementos están presentes en B2. No están presentes, es un excelente B1. Terminando, los muchachos que les digo en C1, les dije, ¿saben qué? Terminamos el curso. Son excelentes B2. Pero terminamos el C1. Terminamos el libro. Terminamos los meses. Pero no se logró. Ustedes no quisieron. ¿Verdad? Ahí están los reportes, el feedback, ahí está todo. Te dije, usa esto, ¿verdad? Pero si me lo pide, lo uso. Sí, pero eso no, ¿verdad? No es un examen el que vas a pasar. So it's the learning. You see what I mean? Okay, it is the learning. Sometimes listening material in Spanish with subtitles in English, listening to American people speaking Spanish. Invité el otro día a un amigo que él es de Nueva York, y le dije, oye, vamos a mi clase, ¿no? Sí, sí. Pero yo no sé enseñar inglés. No, quiero que nos hables en español, ¿verdad? Pero mi español está bien. Perfect for me. Okay? So I was using his Spanish. Y lo puse, pregúntenle. No, y él le encanta, ¿verdad? Y empezó. Y lo dice, oye, teacher, ¿y él por qué no lo corregimos en español? Dice, yo querer viajar por mundo. Pero nosotros insistimos mucho en que hazlo bien en inglés. Hazlo bien, si no, no está bien y si no te repruebo. ¿Ok? Entonces ellos se dieron cuenta que en inglés el español se usa de una manera. Entonces quisieron ver cómo se intentaba traducir lo que él hace al español, ¿verdad? Perdón, al inglés, y pudieron sacar una mejor estructura. Estábamos viendo el pasado perfecto y lo pudieron lograr y sacaron mejores puntuaciones, ¿verdad? Para desarrollar el método que les comento, el Make and Do, ¿verdad? Fue un estudio, ha sido, ¿verdad? Tengo 25 años de maestro, ¿verdad? En los últimos 10 años me dediqué a eso. ¿Qué sirve? ¿Qué no sirve? ¿Cómo se hace? ¿Cómo funciona? ¿Cómo le ayudo mejor? ¿Ok? And besides, it's a great business. Okay, what is correct translation? Before attempting to write an essay, have them read in Spanish about the topic. Yes? Antes de escribir un ensayo, le digo a los alumnos, ¿qué saben ustedes de eso? No, pues no. Ok. No sé si se han escuchado, siempre en inglés dicen you. For example, what do you prefer, to get married young or to get married older? Y lo dicen así. Well, teacher, for example, if you get married young, y les digo, ¿por qué yo? Eso es español, ¿sabían? Y luego dicen, entonces, ¿cómo le hago? ¿Sabían ustedes que para eliminar el you, la voz pasiva debe de estar allí? Y como no saben voz pasiva, ¿qué hacen? El you. Teacher, for example, if you get married young, you will have children and you will... Yo no me metas en tus ideas, ¿eh? Think about what do you prefer. Okay, well, if I get married, y luego les digo, ahora quita el you y quita el I. Como ustedes ahorita están pensando cómo lo van a decir también. We do it. Siguiente, por favor. Ok, half español, mitad English. Passive voice and past. 20 minutos en español, 20 minutos en inglés. Directions, material, list of verbs and dictionaries or translators. We can use that. 4 minutes to talk about the picture. 5 pictures. A student writes some sentences, at least 3 for each picture. 5 minutes to analyze the structure in Spanish. La analizamos en español. Right? Porque me doy cuenta que los alumnos, al menos los míos, ¿verdad? No entendían. Ellos dicen, ¿es esto más esto más esto? Sí, ok. Ya sé. No. Por eso los alumnos dicen, háblalo, dilo. Es que a mí el hablar no se me da, teacher. Si se fijan, ¿qué hace el alumno cuando llega al salón? Lo primero que hace es, llega el profesor y lo primero que hace es abre su cuaderno y la pluma. Quítenles el cuaderno y la pluma durante la siguiente semana, a ver qué hacen. Y ustedes, enseñen de tal manera que no dependan del cuaderno y la pluma del alumno. Activarán mucho allá arriba, ¿verdad? La mente. Y el alumno va a tener que empezar más. Depende mucho de su cuaderno para recordar, pero no depende de su mente para recordar, porque no interioriza. Okay? Next one, please. And I think this is the last one. Some facts: find a way to access knowledge. How much language do you they have? Spanish fills some gaps in understanding. It is a learner-preferred strategy. It is part of the humanistic approach. 68.7% of the total sample reported using the learner's own language. Example, to explain vocabulary and grammar, to develop rapport, and a good classroom atmosphere. It is part of their identity. Usen su identidad, usen su idioma. ¿Saben una cosa? En español algunos ya saben escribir, leer y hacer las cosas bien. Nuestro trabajo va a ser que si ya lo saben hacer bien en un idioma, ahora lo hagan en otro. Ya tienen las herramientas. No hay nada que hacer más. Nada más ahora que lo hagan en inglés. Sí, pues es lo difícil, ¿no? 60% of the advanced learners are positive about being explained the differences between L1 and L2, how they work. Probably you want to experiment with this, okay? Or just like that guy over there, I'll allow it, all right? Next, please, the last one, okay? Este es más o menos mi correo, ahí está, ¿verdad? Si quieren algunos comentarios, quejas, etcétera, etcétera. O que les pase la presentación también, o que les pase los journals donde se basó este estudio, todo, adelante, okay? Thank you very much for your attention. You have been a great audience.
Okay, Mario, we were pleased to have your
Martín.
Ay, perdón, Martín. Sorry.
Martín, no, gordo, Mario.
Mario. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
We were pleased to have your participation in this outstanding conference, and we thank you for your valuable contribution. Let's give a big clap, please. And here we have a present for you. Thank you very much.
Gracias, thank you.
Compañeros, les vamos a pasar la encuesta para que nos hagan favor de contestarla. Gracias.